My name is Bob Jamieson, and back in 1968, I got in the music business right out of college, something that not too many people are able to do today, given the way the industry is currently and the way it looks like the industry will be in the future. I was fortunate enough to be getting out of college at the time when the music business was exploding. I was a marketing major in school, took graduate courses in management, both of which I think are important. I think they helped me in my career. I believe any kind of business courses that you take in whatever you're going to do is important. At the time, the music business was exploding, and it was a great time to be entering the business. The radio business was exploding. It was going from AM radio to FM radio, and we were introducing albums now as opposed to just singles. Retail was exploding with discount houses, so music was everywhere. You could find it in multiple chains. You can find it in mom and pop record stores that were thriving. Radio was playing this new rock and roll music that had only been around not that many years, really. So everything was great, and I was fortunate enough to be at the very beginning, or very close to the beginning of that. It was a great time. Getting into the music business today, there is no, school to go to that is the answer to it all. You can get in any number of different ways, and there isn't like the IBM school where you do this for a few years and then you do that, and there isn't a clear-cut path that you take. In the music business, you can get in any way. You can get in coming through a management company. You can get in through the finance department. Once you get in, what I used to say is I was a sponge. I got into this business and I became a sponge. I absorbed everything I possibly could and exposed myself to everything I possibly could to try and learn about the business. I said earlier that when I got in the music business, I looked at it as joining the Navy. I joined it to see the world, and wherever the journey took me, I was going. And I think you have to have that kind of an attitude. You have to understand if you're thinking about you're going to get in here and make a whole lot of money, forget it. You're in the wrong business. You may make a lot of money. You may make a fortune. But you can't come into the business thinking that's what's going to happen. You need to get into it with the understanding that you love what you're doing. You love the music. You want to make a living doing it. But you want to learn first and foremost, because you don't know anything when you get in this business. And you want to be around as many people as you can be that you think and that know the business, that you respect, and that you think have done a good job. There are many areas in the company. You've got finance as a starting point, and the finance area is an area of the business that the discipline of finance is a discipline that you can apply to any industry. It's not unique in any great way to the music business. If you're a good finance person, have learned about finance, you can transfer that knowledge and utilize those skills in any business. If you happen to like music, it's a way to get into the music business, but it's not a unique talent to get into the music business. Probably another area that is easily transferable knowledge, or to a certain degree, is legal and business affairs. You need to be a lawyer, in my opinion, to be able to deal with artists and artist contracts. There are exceptions to that. There have been heads of business affairs and record companies that have not been lawyers. As a businessman, I would never have somebody dealing with what I consider to be legal documents who wasn't a lawyer. But you learn in entertainment law. It applies to the music business. It's a section of the law, and you can apply your skills into the business. When you get into the creative services area of the business, which is the creation of the cover art and the imaging of the artist and the photos and the display materials, putting albums together and the liner notes, etc. Those are artistic disciplines. Those are people that are good photographers, are good illustrators, are good artists in general, good writers, people who know layout, people that are generally have gone to a good art school and understand art, again, can apply their disciplines into the music business. And the more creative you are, the more you can apply in your creativity into the business within the confines of the music business. And it's limited to some degree in the size of the product, and so sometimes very, very creative artistic people get frustrated in that. But it is like running an art department and being in an art department, and in a proofreading sense and in a creation sense. But it's not a unique discipline. There are other advertising agencies and movie companies and video game companies have the same need for those kinds of disciplines. A&R people, A&R stands for Artists and Repertoire. Those are the people that are responsible to a large degree of bringing the artists, the potential artists, to the executives that have the responsibility and authority to create the roster and sign artists. They are charged with the responsibility of going out and bringing talent to the record label, getting them signed, and then helping make the record. And helping make the record can be an all-encompassing proposition. It can mean that you actually have to go out and find the songs for the artist, help them find a band in some cases, help them find a producer, the engineer, everybody that will be on their team to make the record, and can be intimately involved. In some cases may even be a songwriter or a musician themselves, or even a producer, and they may play on the record, they may co-write some of the songs or write some of the songs that are on the record, and they may be the producer on the record. The real A&R people are multi-talented. In my opinion, they need to be musicians. They need to understand the thinking of an artist. They need to be able to communicate with an artist. They need to understand that they are not the artist, that the artist is the one that's important, and they can't let their ego and their personal musical taste get in the way of the artist. They are there to interpret the vision of the artist and to bring out the best of the artist and craft and help them craft their songs without having them sell out, if you will. And sometimes you need to be firm, and sometimes you need to be very gentle. And sometimes you're very, very hands-on, other times you're merely guiding. And each artist is different, and each process and each record is different. But A&R people can ruin a project, can actually take a great artist with a great body of work, and because of their lack of skill or understanding of what they're dealing with, they can actually hinder the project. And so it's important that you have a good balance between the person who's going to guide the creative process and the person who's creating the music. When you get into sales, the sales area, it's an area where you're selling, and a good salesperson can sell anything. And unfortunately, in today's world, with the big box stores and the multinationals, you're not selling to the mom and pop stores like you used to, where you used to be able to relate to the buyer and talk to them on a musical level and tell them who was in the band and who's this and who's that, and he'd buy it because of that knowledge. It's not that way any longer. If you're a salesperson and you know how to sell, you're dealing with people who are looking at numbers on a computer screen. They don't really care about all that information. All they want to know is what's the deal, and You tell them what the deal is and the knowledge, and give them some reasons why they should buy it. If it's a big act, if it's happening in some place, whatever the story is. But it's not about the artist development side of the story for these big box stores, because they don't break acts. They want to buy the act when the act is broken. Mom and pops, who are the starter stores, as we call them, mom and pops, the starter stores where they really do care more about where the artist came from in the early days. They're becoming fewer and far between, and that's sad. It's big artists, big exposure, not enough artist development. So sales positions are less creative than they used to be. There used to be a time when a really creative salesperson who understood his product really well, that was essential and that was critical. Not as much so any longer. Promotion people are, as I said earlier, the promotion people are that's a very good position for somebody to get into, because you're dealing with artists, you're dealing with managers, you're dealing with the promotion staff, when you're in a branch, you're dealing with everybody in the branch, from the branch manager to the salespeople, to the merchandisers, to the finance people, if there are finance people. You're dealing with the artist, you're dealing with the manager, you're dealing with national staff, you're dealing with the press people. That is the best job to get, or position to get in a record company, to give yourself exposure to the powers to be, to give yourself experience in a broad, round part of most of the music business, build a name for yourself within your company and out of your company, because artist managers have artists at other labels and people talk, and it's a great way to build your career. It takes a person who likes people. You have to understand this is not a 9-to-5 job. In fact, I think it can be generally said in the music business for any of the creative areas, this is not a 9-to-5 gig. This gets into your blood. This becomes a lifestyle. It is your lifestyle. It's not a job. You take it with you. It's 24/7. You live it and breathe it. And your partner and anybody that knows you have to support that and understand that, because it is demanding. I mean, I used to say it's my mistress, because it's always there. But I live it and I breathe it. And you have to have a wife or a partner that understands and supports that. And then it becomes a wonderful journey. It becomes a wonderful experience. Promotion, you can be out all night with these artists when they come to town. And you have to learn to balance your life, because being in that position, you are exposed more than anybody to the evils of everything. The evils of alcohol, of drugs, of all of the vices might be evident to you at a given point in your position. And you have to understand you're in a business. You make that choice in your life. If it's a business, I don't believe that you should be doing any of those things and be involved in any of those things. And it's not hard to say, no, I don't. It really isn't hard. And because you'll be around it. You'll be around some of the things that you'll see in your career in the business will hurt people, and not only in your career, in your life. It requires a person with a real strong sense of who they are, a person who's ready to work really hard, a person who has a great personality and likes to deal with people and enjoys being around people and working with people and understands the various personalities. A marketing plan will include the key tracks, the singles, when the singles are the concentration tracks, which ones are coming out, and in the order, as the best that you know. When you're going to make the videos, what kind of videos you're going to make, or video you're going to make. The budgets for all these things that I'm going to tell you about. How you're going to do your radio campaign. If you're going to this track, what kind of radio stations are you going to target? Are they going to be top 40? Are they going to be urban? Or are they going to be metal? Or whatever the mix of stations might be, that will be the kinds of stations you would expect to program that concentration track. So you need to decide if you're going to do a video, and then you need to detail in your marketing plan about costs on that video, concept on that video. You need to know your concentration tracks. You need to know your street plan, if there is a street plan. What does that mean? Are you going to have street teams out giving out samples? Are you going to have snipes in certain marketplaces? Are you going to do billboards in certain markets? What will be your press campaign on a national basis? What will be your press campaign on a regional and local basis? What will be your sales program, your deal, so to speak? How you're going to sell this record? Are you going to put a discount on it? Are you not going to put a discount on it? How much price and positioning, which is in-store display, are you going to pay for? Price and positioning, are you going to put windows up? Are you going to pay for the record to be on the step downs in the record stores? That costs money. Are you going to do radio advertising commercials? Are you going to go television? Are you going to use television? All of that will be in an inclusive marketing campaign, and then you deal with the rest of the world. When do you go to the rest of the world? Does the record come out at the same time all over the world? On an established act that's sold a lot of records, that's the case. If it's a new act, that may be months down the line. And you work it market by market when it's brand new. But you'll need to know, what is the international strategy? Are you going to try and break it internationally? And if you are, is the artist going to go over and do press and promo in front? Is the artist going to do what we call electronic press kits that can be sent out around the world, so you get some sense of who the artist is, the profile. You get to have some questions that you might have answered. Do they do phoners? Do they go and visit on a press basis, then come and do a club tour, and then eventually the singles? When do the singles come out? Do you do a different video overseas than you do in America? So if you get into a real project-long marketing plan, understanding that that's a snapshot at a given point in time, and it will change dramatically. So we roughly sketch out the whole plan, but for maybe 3 months there's a great deal of detail. And every 3 months, as you get moving along in the plan, you put a lot of detail in the second 3 months and the third 3 months, because things change so rapidly, more so than any other product that I can think of in my whole. I've never thought of another. I could never come up with a product that changes so much like a record on a global basis. I mean, a movie is a movie. It comes out, it's a movie. A record, if you put out 3 singles, that record could be completely different, each single, because the audience may be different. And one single builds on the next single, which brings it to another level. And while we're sleeping, while we're talking, artists all over the world are getting played and getting exposed and getting accepted. So you wake up tomorrow morning and the artist is in a different space. And you have to be able to get that information, and you have to be able to react to that on a marketing way. I was involved with American Idol. It originated in London, and it was a very big success in London. And it was an artist manager that manages Annie Lennox, and I had known for years. He was actually the one who came up with the idea, and he had Simon Cowell, who was the judge here, was the judge over there, and they were able to sell it to Fox because Simon works for BMG. Simon Cowell and Simon Fuller had a relationship with us. We had, and Fremantle, which is a production company for BMG, was doing the production. We had the opportunity to pick up the show. And it wasn't an easy sell for Fremantle at all. I mean, there was, even though the numbers in England were phenomenal, we were all concerned about being music people. Was this real? I mean, was this something that was going to be a big deal in America or not? The artists that won in England, the first two artists, had no appeal for us in America. So it was strictly an English phenomenon. Didn't even sell records outside of England to any great degree. And so there was a risk, and it was a very expensive deal because of all the success in England. There was a price to pay. My attitude was, we need to take this shot. We need to take the opportunity. There's too much going on to not take the opportunity, because even though it's an expensive opportunity, how can you, you'd feel foolish if you didn't take advantage of it, and so we did the deal. And I'd like to say the rest is history, but the rest is history to a certain degree, but a lot of things went into it. I think we were fortunate. Americans take their music, I think, more seriously than people around the world to a large degree. And we're we're snobby about our music, and certainly the record people are snobby about projects they associate themselves with. I think many countries around the world are more casual about it. How much longer this show will last, I don't know. But it has changed music forever. What it's demonstrated to us, and I think it's something that we all need to learn, the power of television. And we didn't take advantage of television early enough. I think had we been a little more innovative as an industry, and a little bit more aggressive, we would have taken some of our marketing dollars and channeled them to what we're doing now, which is television, more television advertising, because it reaches such a wide audience, and it's apparently working. And we could have done that years ago. I remember there was a movement. One of the executives I worked with felt that we should spend more of our marketing dollars on television advertising. And it was an experiment that was tried, but half-heartedly, and it didn't work. And I think it would have worked had everybody committed. But television is so important, and I mean, when the public tires of American Idol, we'll see. But right now, those artists have a golden opportunity to make an impact and become stars overnight. Running a record company is running a business, and people have to understand that it has a lot of the same management skills that you need to have to run any business. The added demand, so you need to be able to understand people, motivate people, get people to do what you want or what you need done. You need to be a leader. You hopefully will command their respect. You earn their respect. You can't demand it, you earn it. You have to treat people, in my opinion, management styles vary almost as many managers as there are that many management styles, but not really. But my management style was, I worked with people. Some managers, you work for them. That's not my management style. I believe that we all work together. I'll take the responsibility. I'll set the course. I will take input from everybody along the way, because I don't consider myself the one that has all the right answers. I like input. I like the idea that all of us work together toward a common goal. Everybody's a part of it. It's a part of my upbringing playing sports. And that's the way I manage. That's not to say it's the only way to manage. Some are very authoritarian managers in the music business, and they run record companies in a very authoritarian way. And people work for them, and they're successful. And so that's fine. Understanding that the music business, it is a business. And so you can manage it in many different ways. The element that makes it different, and the thing that you have to respect, the product, if you will, is people. Your asset is people. And people are the most complex thing known to man. And so you're dealing with an incredibly complex set of products, if you will. And you need to understand that, and you need to be flexible about it. You need to be able to adjust, because each one of your products is a different person or group of people, and they have to be treated in a different way to some degree. I mean, you can't run your company to each person's whim. You have to run it to make a profit and be successful. But at least I believe you need to be somewhat understanding and sympathetic to the people that you're asking to put their music and their creativity with you to look after. So you have the people in the company who can make a difference and are important, because they're not just pounding out widgets. Their creative energy and their commitment can add a lot of value to the success of the overall company and the individual artists on the label. And then you got your product, which is also a person. Without people, you got nothing. So you got to like people. You have to like to be around people. You have to be ready to put the hours in. You need to be flexible. You need to be a bit of a, I don't know if psychologist is the right word, but you need to be able to understand the dynamics of personalities, and that people are different, and you need to treat people sometimes in a unique way. Sometimes you have to hit them hard, and other times you have to put your arm around them and give them a hug, and make them feel good about themselves. And the creative psyche, as you know, is very fragile. So it has to be protected and nurtured. And unfortunately, in the multinational business that we live in today, the multinationals are not in any way, shape, or form sympathetic to that. And it's product to them. And they will never fix this as long as it's product. As long as it remains product. And the people that are running it only take care of the commerce side. And they don't understand that it isn't product, it's music. When they understand it's music, and they understand that it has to be treated in a different way than a can of peas, then they'll make it better. If they're a singer, they need to be able to sing. They need to have a certain look about them, and that doesn't mean they have to be good looking, but they have to have a certain presence, stage presence, if you will. There has to be something unique about them or recognizable about them that distinguishes them from the masses. They need to have a certain, they need to be smart. They need to be very committed to what they do. This is not a hobby. If it's a hobby and you're in our business, you won't be successful, because this is not a 9-to-5 job. It's not a 9-to-5 job for an artist at all. It's 24/7. And they need to have the smarts to understand what's going on, because as they begin the journey, people are tugging at them from everywhere. Everybody wants a piece of them. Everybody wants them to do an interview. Everybody wants them to come here. Everybody wants them to go there. Everybody wants them to come to their party. Everybody. And if they don't know how to manage their time and manage their career, they will burn out. So they need to be smart about what they're doing, and they need to focus, and they need to plan ahead. They can't say yes to everything. So it takes an intellect. It takes a heart. It takes a real commitment to what they do. It needs a brain. They need to be unique. They need to have the raw talent. They need to be able to put together and surround themselves with people that can help them and help their career. It's not good enough to just have friends or people that like them or whatever. They need to have people who add value to their career. That's not easy to find many times. And they're only as good as their weakest link. They need to marry up their record company. They need to have the right record company. They need to have the right lawyer. They need to have the right manager. So it's tough to manage all these things and get all these things done and have the team together that you feel comfortable with, that frees you to now do what you're supposed to do, which is create. We look for look for somebody with those qualities and has something to say. They can write, if that's what they're supposed to be doing. They can sing, or they know how to communicate. They know how to communicate. Publishers, they don't care as much about if the artist performs or not. What they care about is they write great songs, because they want the copyright. Managers or agents that are booking them on the road, they don't care if the artist sells records as much, because there are plenty of artists out there that sell out but don't sell a whole lot of records. Some have and don't any longer. Others never did. But because they put on such an unbelievable show, and they have this whole aura about them. So you may have a great songwriter who doesn't sell any records, that won't appeal to a record company but will to a publishing company. You get an artist that sells out venues of some size, then a manager and an agent can make good money. Record company can't sell any records, so they're not interested in them. Then you get the artists, and it's sad, but there are many artists that can sell a lot of records but can't sell a ticket in a venue, relatively speaking, and they don't write their own material, so the publisher doesn't really care about them too much. It's rare when you can get all of that going on, and there are too many artists today that sell a lot of records for a moment, but really are terrible live. And again, they don't write their own material. The multinationals today, I think, are spending too much time looking for artists that are of the moment, those artists that they can glamorize and make them a brand for a relatively short period of time. And they don't expect them to be anybody that you care about in 10 years. It's very much immediate gratification today in our business. There aren't enough good managers. Managers need to be multifaceted. They need to be excellent business people. They need to have the highest of integrity, because they're dealing with a lot of people's lives, and they're dealing with money, and they're dealing with other people's money. They need to be creative. They need to be psychologists and psychiatrists, and they need to be able to image and act, help an artist develop their image and their look, help them get to the right record companies, deal with the record companies, deal with all the business ventures that want to deal with the artist in one way or another, movie companies, brands, merchandising companies, booking agents, press people. There are all kinds of people that use an artist's music in one way or the other, or make a living because of that artist and their music in one way or the other. The manager's the centerpiece of all that. They have to do the deals. They have to be a part of those deals. It takes a multifaceted, very smart and creative person. The best people know their artist, and they know what that artist stands for. There aren't enough good ones. I mean, they might be good at one thing or good at another thing, but to be able to pull it all together. I mean, John Landau has managed Bruce Springsteen with Barbara Carr forever, and the two of them are two of the best managers in the business. And for years, they didn't have any other client but Bruce Springsteen. They've had now Shania Twain, and John adds value, Barbara adds value. They're creative, they're good business people, they look after their artists. They won't sell their artist out. They've turned down millions and millions of dollars in possible deals that they didn't feel were right for the artist. And likewise, they've created millions and millions of dollars worth of deals that they felt were right for their artist. I don't believe that the environment is right for creative environments in publicly traded companies. In fact, I don't think the music business should be in any publicly traded company. I believe they should be independent companies, and they should be able to operate as independent companies. They should be required to make profits. They should be required to make money. There's nothing wrong with making money. There's nothing wrong with making money with creative energy, but you can't always do it on a quarterly statement or a quarterly result like they ask for, and you need to have creative people who understand the creative thought process. And if you don't, and most of these companies don't today, you won't be successful. And if you are successful, you aren't as successful as you could be. You will never maximize the opportunity unless you have a balance between art and commerce. And right now it's all about commerce and it's nothing about art. And it's sad. You know, it's very sad. And I hope that we get back to a better balance in the future. And we recognize that, like it or not, this is American culture. And it is the universal language. This is the language that's spoken all over the world. It's music. And people like music to some degree, no matter who you are. And you're stifling the universal language. And in some cases, you're strangling the universal language. And that's not healthy. It's not healthy. And I'm in the music business, but I'm sure the same thing is going on in the movie business to some degree. And everybody's chasing the dollar and the sincerity and the honesty, and everybody's protecting their wealth. The one thing you didn't do, you didn't get in the music business to make a lot of money. Nobody got in it for the money. You got in it because you were lucky and you loved music, or you had to love music. I mean, that was the first and foremost thing. You didn't come out of college and think that you wanted to go into the music business because you love the way they keep their books or whatever. You know, this was you got in it because you had some love and passion for music. It's only when it started to get too much on the commerce side and they started to lose the focus on the music, in my opinion, that the problems began. And certainly we have opportunities and challenges that we have to face today. I'm absolutely convinced that the music will never die. I'm absolutely convinced that smart people who care about what we do will figure out how do we deal with the issues at hand. I think there's a lot being done today dealing with these issues. It will take some support from the government, but I also believe that technology and smart people in our business working together will be able to embrace the new technologies as you have to embrace the new technologies. Anybody that doesn't think that the new technologies are going to outstrip any laws or anything that you might try and put up as a roadblock is naive. If you see some new technology, find out how we can make it work for us. And we're all going to have to rethink the way we look at music and the way music is delivered today. We may be, in some ways, back to the future in that it's more of a track business today. Originally, it was all about singles, and then it became albums. It's more now back to, for most artists, back to a singles business. It's back to a track business. It's back to a song. Very, very few artists, unfortunately, can command a full album's worth of material that's worth listening to. And if you think about it, how do you receive your music today? You receive it in a video, which is one track. You receive it on radio, which is one track. You see it in a movie, it's one track. So most of the time that we're receiving music, we're receiving one track by one artist. It's only when you're home, or it's only when you're in your car, it's only when you put on a CD and you listen to the whole CD all the way through. That's really a minority of the ways, that's the minority way that you receive or hear music. So it makes sense to me that it's a track game. And when you're that unique artist that has a lot to say and it's a body of work like a Dave Matthews or some of those other artists that really have a great inspirational talent, that aren't necessarily writing hit singles, but they're saying something, they're communicating. Because basically music is communication. Those artists will always make albums. But if you're talking about Britney Spears, or you're talking about J-Lo, or you're talking about many of the hit artists of today, they make one or two songs that you really like on a given album. I believe once we understand that and learn to live with that, and put our finances in order, and the industry realizes that those days of excess and entitlement are over, it's not going to be, you're not going to be able to make $1.5 million video and expect to recoup your costs. And you're not going to be able to spend $2, $3, $4 million on an album and expect to recoup it, because your sales are going to come in a different way. And they may be coming over a longer period of time, and you can't afford that kind of marketing expense. So we have to control our expenses. Personally, I'd like to see the industry have more independent companies. I would like to see the industry have more, I would not like to see the mergers and acquisitions that are going on. I believe that the industry needs more creative entities, more creative companies, not less. One of the greatest times in our business was when there was an independent A&M, an independent Island, an independent Jive, and there were entrepreneurs running those companies, Motown. And these guys were very competitive, they were very creative, they were risk takers, and they made the business, they kept the multinationals as they were on the edge, and they were innovative. And if you only have the majority of the business concentrated in as few as 3 majors, 3 multinationals that might account for as much as 75% of our business, that stifles creativity. There will be so many displaced artists that will never get an opportunity. More artists need opportunities, not less. And they need time to develop. And there need to be more people working in our business, not fewer people. But each one of those independent entities have to be able to survive and make a living. Nobody owes them a living. So you have to be good at what you do. You have to run a good business. So the strong will survive, but mergers are not doing anything as far as making the music any better. So they may be taking care of, the economy, but you're never going to economize yourself to success. That is not going to happen in our business. If the creative side of the business isn't being taken care of, the business will never be healthy. So you need creativity to make this business healthy. And there needs to be the balance between art and commerce. And right now, it's all about commerce. And I think that's a real shame. And I hope we get out of that rapidly. And I hope and I believe we are, I believe the powers to be today, a lot of them are starting to face into what the future will bring. Ultimately, in my opinion, you won't even have a CD. There won't be any tangible software that you'll be dealing with. It will all come out of the internet. It'll all come out of space. And it will be delivered in so many ways that we probably haven't even thought about yet. But it will be instant gratification. You'll be able to get whatever you want, wherever you want it, however you want it, when you want it. And I think that'll be a great thing. And there won't be, as we know them, retail stores. But your home will be a giant jukebox, and your car will be a giant jukebox. And everywhere, and you will be a giant jukebox, because there'll be something that will enable you to listen to music anytime you want. And that's good. That's a good thing. And there will be people making music and people getting paid, and artists will be breaking, and artists will be touring, and all the other things will be going on. And that's a wonderful business to be in. It's a wonderful business to be in, because it's global. When you make a song today as a young person, that song may be played all over the world. That's great. And it may be translated into every language. And it'll be around forever if it becomes a classic. And I only wish I had the talent to write or play or do some of that. So I decided that I can't do that side of, I can't get on that side of the recording studio. So maybe I can sit on the other side and watch the people create. And that's what I enjoy. Ask questions and be willing to do what other people won't do. Put in that extra time. Be the last person to leave at night, as corny as that sounds. Go to the shows when you can go to the shows. Try and help out anybody you possibly can. Everything you do. I counted records in New York City for a year. Everybody said, counting records. I'd get up on Saturday morning and go to a warehouse in the middle of the summer more than one time and count records. And they'd say, what are you doing that for? Well, the sales rep needed that information. I learned how to sell eventually because I would stand in for the sales reps. I learned what sold, what we had on our roster, any number of things. I look at every experience as a learning opportunity. But so you can get in any number of ways. And your education is important. I think that you should definitely have a college education. You may not recognize that it helps you, but it does. I think in the days going forward, a master's is going to be important. My undergraduate degree was in marketing, and I took courses at Columbia for management. That's me. I think those two things helped me. Be willing to do anything in whatever they ask you to do. And don't think the industry owes you a living, because it doesn't. But I think you should always have your eyes open and multitask in today's world. I believe that you should. What I mean by multitasking is you should have some outside interests. They might be music related. There are many people now that are accepting the fact that you might work for a multinational, but you might manage a band on the side, or you might have a small record company on the side. When I was coming up, that was unheard of. That was conflict of interest or whatever. Today, you might look at that. If you maybe not at the beginning, but as you get going in your career and as you learn something, you might start your own little cottage industry or sidelight, so to speak. Be honest about it. Don't be secretive about it. Tell your employers and everything else. But learn when you're young and you can afford to make mistakes. Those kinds of, that little cottage business, that publishing company you started, that managing that little local band while you're working at a major record company, one can feed on the other and you can learn. I believe that the opportunity for entrepreneurs is the greatest right now, because the guys that had really made their mark sold to the multinationals and they're out. The middle class, the entrepreneurs, the independents there needs to be more creative energy in that area. So people coming up that know what they're doing and will be the future of the business, because the multinationals today are dealing with only big artists, artists that sell a lot. The more creative artists in this world, the artists that really make a statement and mean something in the world, they don't come out of the multinationals. They may go to the multinationals, but they tend to come out of the independent sector. Almost every one of the big cool acts that are overnight sensations, when you really find out who they were making records independently. Dave Matthews as an example. Dave Matthews was doing quite well on his own as an independent artist. Had his own record company, had his own publishing company, had his own merchandising company. He came to RCA and we were able to take him to a whole new level, but he was multitasking. He had a good live following before. And a lot of these artists have made independent records before they came to the majors. The industry needs more of that. And if you can come out of that sector or be a part of that sector while you're working in the multinational, it's a great combination. The music is not going to die. It's not going to die. And I think the opportunity is great for this business. I believe that the future is very bright for the business. I believe we're all going to learn from this. We're all going to be humbled by it. We're all going to change our attitude, and I think we all need to shuffle the deck every now and again. This has been a seismic shift, if you will, that caught a lot of people off guard, because nobody recognized how big the earthquake was. But we will survive and we will thrive, and the business will prosper, and I think it will take off. It's going to take a little bit more time, and then all of a sudden it's going to understand what it is and how it is and how to go about doing business in the new model. and it's going to take off. And I'm looking forward to it, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. That's why that's why I am starting my own company, and that's what I'm going to do. And I am absolutely convinced that this is the good time to do it. And it'll be fun.